Welcome to the morning meeting with Sarah and Jess.
Where the tea is hot, the wine is chilled, and no topic is off limits. Pull up a chair and join us. There is room for all of you here.
We won't limit seating, we'll just build a bigger table. Let's begin today's meeting. Hi, everyone, and welcome to this very special bonus episode of the morning meeting with Sarah and Jess. Today, it will be just me. Jess is unable to make it, so you have Sarah here today recording with our very special guest, who I'll introduce to you in a moment. I'm doing some work for a course project, actually, and Jess isn't feeling too hot today, but hi, Jess, we miss you. And I know our guest misses you too. I was very excited to have this opportunity to record a podcast, however, for my final assignment submission this semester. And I've been so excited to sit down with our guest today since I started this course way back in September. I am currently studying the fundamentals of sustainability for my master's in education program. And for our final assignment, we have been asked to identify a source of vigor in our community and to learn more about their good work, or great work, as Thomas Berry calls it. A source of vigor is defined by Nico Rorta as opportunities that tackle complex sustainability issues. And the source of vigor I wanted to learn more about was the Good Food Bus. So it is my absolute pleasure to sit down with the program coordinator, Emma Jarrett, to learn more. Emma Jarrett is born and raised in Cape Breton and is proud to be laying down her roots here at home. She spends the majority of her days traveling the roads of Cape Breton, making nutritious food more accessible. When she's not on the road, she can be found hanging out with friends and family, baking up a storm in the kitchen, and spending time outdoors. She loves being involved in her community and is proud of the role she plays in the food security world with her position with the Good Food Bus. For any of you listeners who attended our Galentine's Day event back in February, you may recognize Emma as an attendee who is having so much fun and bringing major energy to our virtual party with her friend Kat. Jess and I were loving it. They were having such a great time. We wish we were where they were, celebrating Galentine's with them. But we were happy to have you on virtually, and I'm so happy to have you here with us today. Hi, Emma.
Oh my goodness. Thank you so much for having me here today. I'm really excited to sit down with you and chit chat and, have a great afternoon.
Yeah, the feeling is mutual. I can't wait. And thank you, Emma. Emma's taking time on her day off to join me today and chat about her work. So we can all appreciate that and the energy that takes. So we really appreciate your time today, Emma. Yeah. Emma, for our listeners, for our morning meeting listeners, people would know that we're based in Cape Breton already, but for many of my classmates who will also be listening to this recording, they are from all over the world, well, all over the country and a few around the world, I believe. So some of them may be familiar with Cape Breton. They may have lived here or moved away, but they may have never been here. So through our chat, I think we'll teach them not only a little bit about the Good Food Bus, but also some of the unique challenges that our community faces here. So why don't we start off by you telling us what the Good Food Bus is?
Okay, yeah, absolutely. The Good Food Bus is, it's a pretty simple model. I like to just simplify it a bit and explain it as it's a produce aisle that you would find in your grocery store, but on wheels. And so what we do, we load up a bus with fresh fruits and vegetables and some shelf-stable items and travel to communities throughout Cape Breton Island and make food more accessible. And so that's one thing about Cape Breton is our communities are so spread out. So that we have a lot of food deserts here. So communities that are, off the beaten path and don't have transportation options. They don't have grocery stores. There's a lot of that, like fishing communities and things like that. And so we try to make our best effort to take the bus into these communities and make shopping for healthy food that's going to nourish your bodies easier. Yeah. So the bus is a retrofitted bus. So we got this bus. It's awesome. And we're actually on our second bus. We can talk more about that later. And what we did is we took some seats out and just simply put some shelving units in the bus, a little cash area, and people just approach the serving window as you would any food truck and order your produce for the week. And we
Yeah.
just that simple.
I
Yeah,
love that description of it, like your produce aisle on wheels. So
yeah,
that's is such a simple and really informative way to explain it. I know when I was reading on the website, like the aim is to ease barriers to
mhm,
accessing good food,
yeah,
right?
100.
Like by bringing an affordable fresh food market on wheels. So I'm reading that from the website directly. In terms of like accessibility and breaking down barriers for people, and many of the challenges that you just mentioned in our different communities and the different challenges different communities face.
I know I live in Sydney, which is kind of like the
The
hub.
metropolis of Cape Breton, yeah.
We have like 10 grocery stores, but it's for communities, for so many, I think we have more communities that don't have the proper access, or say if you don't have a vehicle,
That's
you
right.
expected to get to your grocery store to get any food, or access can look so many different ways, or
Yeah,
like maybe someone is just struggling financially, and so
right.
you can't really purchase especially now our fruit and vegetables are so expensive. So we're just trying to make things a little bit easier to be able to nourish your bodies.
Yeah. And can you elaborate on that a little more? Because I love that idea too. So the idea is that you can purchase this fresh produce, but it's also in smaller portions. Is that correct?
Yes, absolutely. So that's a whole so the name of the game for the Good Food Bus, really the bottom line, is to make things affordable.
Okay.
Um, and so part of the way to do that is, and then that branches out into
Right.
so many different options of what else we strive for.
Right.
And so we purchase our food in large quantities. And so we'll get like 50-pound bags of potatoes, 50 pounds of carrots, and the list goes on, these large boxes of produce. And then we break it down. And so someone can come and usually you get like a 2-pound bag of potatoes, and that's like $2 or something.
Right.
So
Right.
by purchasing the larger quantities and just breaking it down, spending a little bit more time on repackaging the food,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
um, it just makes it a little bit more affordable. It's also reducing food waste, which is
Right.
important, like,
Yes.
instead of having to go and buy a whole huge bag of carrots, if you're not really a carrot family, you just
Yeah.
do dishes, come and buy 2 carrots,
Yeah.
and it's just, so
That
that's,
hits home for me. That example really lands for me. We
carrot
need two
family.
carrots. And when I make them and serve them to my toddlers, they're not going to eat them. So the other seven get wasted. Yeah. Right.
Yeah, yeah. So that, I think that really like helps people, and like, and seniors as well is another that I've noticed. So families come, parents will come to get more food. So we're
Right.
like, "Ooh, I want a dozen oranges, a dozen apples, like
Right.
leftovers." But then the seniors will come and say, "I just need the 2 carrots and one pear," and
Right.
because if I buy a bunch, if I buy a bag, it just goes bad. So
Right.
if this model helps so many different levels of families and homes.
Yeah. And it's helping on an economic standpoint, like you said, the affordability of it, but also environmentally in terms of limiting food waste and being
Mm,
more conscious of like the amounts and quantities that you're ordering. Yeah,
totally. Yeah.
that's amazing. Can you tell me more about where this idea came from? Like, are we the first good food bus? Is this model happening in other places? Like, how did this all come about?
Yeah, totally. I think we're the first like good food bus mobile market for Cape Breton.
Right.
I haven't seen it around other than ours,
Yeah.
but we're definitely not the first model. So let's go back a little bit. This might be
Yeah.
a long-winded answer.
That's okay. I love it. You tell us. We're here to learn.
Yeah, so how it started, and I wasn't involved in this whole process, but of
Okay.
course I wrote it. So I believe it was United Way Cape Breton
Hmm.
was they're the folks who came up with the idea of needing to address the food issues that we're
Hmm.
having here in Cape Breton. And so what they did is they got some key players, some key community folks around a table and said, what can we do? there was like our like CBRM folks were there,
Mm-hmm.
all kinds of different community groups. Then they built an advisory team, and as part of that, they brought New Dawn Enterprises into the picture, and that was the Better Bite division of New Dawn, which was the food division that does Meals on Wheels and the Better Bite Cafe, and so they kind of like handle the food aspect of things.
Mm-hmm.
And so they brought New Dawn into the picture, and one thing led to another, I guess, and New Dawn came on as the host organization. So they needed an organization to take on, like hire a coordinator, do the accounting, have the capacity to build a program, the proper way. And so yeah, New Dawn took that on, and then uh, so at the time I was unemployed. I was just transitioning out of a job that I had and looking for the next thing I was going to do. And I had a friend who worked in the building who knew that this job was happening, and one thing led to another, a few conversations and meetings and things like that. And uh, I was sent some materials to say, like, look into this. Do you think it'd be something you'd like to do, or do you think you could take this on? And I came in. I met with Claire Turpin, who at the time was the manager of the Better Bite division. She's since moved on, but we had this meeting, and one thing led to another, and I was the coordinator of the Good Food Bus.
Wow.
So
Lucky
yeah,
them.
yeah, there you go. So what they did was it was funny. They were like, she was like, okay, yeah, you want to do this program, let's work together to make it happen. And I was leaving, she was like, oh yeah, and you're cool with driving the bus, right?
Right.
I was like, yeah, yes I am, like, let's just do this, let's
You
go
don't
do
need any special license to drive the bus. Was it like nerve-wracking the first time you got behind that wheel?
this. It was absolutely, I was
Yeah.
like, tears on my chest. But like it was cool, it was fun too. And you know what? I thought the same thing. I surely need some sort of special license for this. Um, but when I looked into it, they were like, you're only driving you and the fruit and veggies, so you don't need it. So that was a funny little thing. I always tell that story. But we did go, as I was handed a bus, an out of service transit bus. Um, and said as a pilot project, this was our bus to get it started.
Mm-hmm.
Part of that, I traveled up to Halifax to job shadow uh, the mobile food market.
Okay.
So they do something similar in Halifax. Our model is a little different because we have a bus and it's our own bus, and we can, travel throughout the week or whenever we want.
Right.
But the model in Halifax is they at the time had retrofitted an in-service transit bus a week. So
Okay.
and they would just do it that day. Now I think they've since, moved on and they have their own bus and it's great. But I went up job shadowed for a while, and we kind of just like mimicked it to to provide the same service to
Yeah.
CBRN and St. Breton. Yeah.
And
So
when was that, Emma? When did it officially launch?
that was in 2019.
Wow. So through COVID, was that still, what did that look like?
Oh yeah. That was like so the bus has gone through like 3 or 4 different transitions of what the service looks like. Um, COVID, we started in August of 2019. So we had those warm, the fall months, it was
Mm-hmm.
really nice to do outside markets, which it was at the time. Um, but then we were thinking, well, I was thinking, how am I going to go into the winter with like, okay, I have to transition it. I'm still brand new to this, transition it into winter markets. I was trying to wrap my head around that. And then bam, there was
COVID.
a pandemic. And I was like,
Wow.
we were trying to put our heads together. Um, and what it turned into is we just moved into a different version of the Good Food Bus, and we did Good Food Packs.
Oh, right.
We worked with it gave us I kind of sometimes say that the pandemic, it was, horrible, you know, life-changing times that was. But for the Good Food Bus program itself, I think it maybe it potentially was a little bit of like you hate to say like a blessing in
No,
disguise.
I get it. I get it. I think there's lots of lessons to be learned from the pandemic. Honestly, I think the pandemic taught all of us a lot more, even in the realm of sustainability in general, like what really matters in terms of time and what's sustainable and in terms of lifestyle, right? Yeah, there's definitely lessons to be learned through it.
100%. Yeah. Like for the Good Food Bus, it was people were afraid to go into the grocery stores. Remember those early days?
Right. Yes. I remember washing down my groceries.
Like washing everything,
Yes.
But everything was seemed to be safer if we did it outside. And so
Right.
it gave us an opportunity to say, like, come to the Good Food Bus when we got it back on the road and do your shopping outside, and
Yeah.
um, so it was a little bit in that aspect, a little bit of a blessing in disguise. But what we did was in the beginning of the pandemic days, shifted to the Good Food Packs. So I would use the bus to go and collect items like from grocery stores, like bulk soups and breakfast items and things that we would put in these food hampers, and gave me an opportunity to work with even more community groups. So something that the Good Food Bus really relies on is the support of partnerships with groups in the communities, because the community groups know the people that are going to
Right.
come. They know them. They know our customers really better than we would, especially in those beginning days.
Right.
And so it gave me an opportunity to establish new partnerships with groups, and you know, um, it was it was really like trying times, of course, but looking back on it, it was a lot of hard work and in wild times. But uh, you gotta find some positives out of it all.
Yeah, and hearing that, it makes me think of how important like making those connections were in that time, and really that gave you the time to do that. It almost shifted the focus in like nurturing those connections and community relationships so that the good food bus could be sustainable moving forward, right?
Absolutely, yeah. The community groups and those relationships played vital roles in our communities, right? And
Yeah.
they know the people, and they know we were making these packs and trying to help people um, access food, different food, mind you. We were still giving fruits and vegetables, but we were adding other items that were bread and juice and different things like that that families need. But we didn't know who to give them to, but the
Right.
group, So
Yeah.
yeah, it gave the time to be able to, yeah, build those friendships with the
Yeah.
group.
And how important of a time to focus on nourishment and like nourishment of the body, right? And giving people access to do that. And also giving them somewhere to go that they felt safe and still able to purchase food that they needed in a safer environment during those times, right? Because going to the grocery store was scary, really, at that time.
Yeah, yeah. I did take the bus off of the road for a brief moment there, because we did have to focus on building the food hamper. And
Right.
the groups would come to the Altuic Arts Center,
Yeah.
and they would pick up, one group would have 100 food hampers, and then the next group would have like 80, and they would take them off, and then
Wow.
they would take them off and deliver them to the homes.
Wow.
But yeah, the bus was still in motion doing work for that
The
district.
program was still in motion. Yeah. Like your work was the good work was still being done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and then it, the, so when I say the program changed so many times, so it changed that one time to move into good food packs. And then we were so, so grateful for the support of our, community partners, to be able to access a new bus, which was really vital to the success of the program. And so then shifts the program again, because people aren't going onto the bus to shop. It's a window service.
Right.
Oh,
Right.
oh my God, yeah. There's been many versions of the Good Food Bus, and it's all just been the same bottom line, is just to make food accessible.
Yeah. For those of you listening who may not be familiar, is it fair to say, Emma, that New Dawn is a non-for-profit organization? And the Good Food program would be as well.
Yeah. Yeah. So New Dawn is a nonprofit organization that has focuses on building a self-reliant, sustainable future for our communities. And so the Good Food Bus was a nice fit when they brought that into the organization. But there's many different kind of, I like to explain it as like an umbrella.
Yeah.
So there's like a healthcare division, which is like the Meals on Wheels, Better by Cafe, the Good Food Bus, but then there's like a housing division, and there's the Cape Breton Center for Immigration. There's all kinds of different avenues that lay under the New Dawn umbrella. Yeah,
Right. Yeah.
just one.
And your non-for-profit program, so you're buying food in bulk. You're securing food in bulk. Is that fair to say? Is this food being purchased? Is it donated? Is it both? What does that model look like?
Well, yeah, it's being purchased. So
Yeah.
the Good Bus does rely on funding applications. So a large part of, different parts of the year, we might be putting in applications to different funding opportunities, and that's to maintain the bus, um, pay salaries,
Mm-hmm.
buy the food, which all kinds of different fuel the bus, different
Yeah.
things, because the yeah, the food bus really relies on funding applications. And there's also an avenue of building up a subsidy fund, which then goes into making food more affordable for folks. And
Right.
yeah, yeah.
And when you secure this food, is it at the local grocery stores? Is it local farms? Is it a mix of both? I know you're buying large quantities, so it has to be from somewhere that can serve that, I assume.
Yeah, so what I do right now is we started off with a partnership with the Superstore, the Olympic.
Okay. Hmm.
That was because the mobile food market had that relationship already established. And so we just kind of approached our local superstore with the same ask.
Right.
And it was a great partnership to get the bus off the ground,
Hmm. Hmm.
then to look into different options to get larger quantities. And so
Right.
now what I do is order in bulk through a large supplier, through like
Okay.
I do order Nova Scotia Maritime Province's products.
Right.
Um, but then like things like oranges and avocados and bananas and stuff, of course, they're not
Right.
sourced in Scotia. It's funny, sometimes people will come up to the bus and be like, "So your oranges local?" Like, no.
No.
But if you can find an orange farm, I would love to talk to them.
Right.
Um, yeah, and then we are working on a partnership with the Cape Breton Food Hub. And
Oh,
yeah, you know, farmers, our local farmers need to make their living off of
right.
their produce. And so we're just trying to come to a middle ground of making some food affordable for the bus, and so I try my best to get as many local products on there.
Right.
At the end of the day, I have to go with what's the most affordable.
Right. And it has to be mutually beneficial, like any partnership that's being worked on. So that's understandable. Listening to you speak about the like securing food and making it affordable and what your expenses are, the overhead costs are for running the program. I mean, currently you must be facing some pretty big challenges with the rising price of fuel and food. Like those, we've seen those, like personally, those prices have been skyrocketed for just your personal use. So I'm sure that that's been a challenge for you recently.
It is challenging, and I think it's just, it makes it's expensive to fuel the bus. So like, on the days that we travel really far across the island, we do burn a lot of gas, but it's a motivator to try to get as many people to the bus, try to make it
Right.
official, for
Yeah.
these communities that we're going to, so that it's worth it to get there
Yeah.
and as many people benefit from us being in the community. Um, yeah, it's definitely challenging, but like anything, like you have to make it work. Like the
Right.
program doesn't stop because of these challenges we face. You just have to get innovative and,
Yeah.
be smart and wise about your purchases. And yeah, and really the subsidy fund really comes in handy there too. Sometimes like sometimes we do get items onto the bus and they're still pretty expensive,
Yeah. Yeah.
so sometimes a subsidy fund will come in handy if someone's looking to purchase. Like right now the lettuce is outrageously priced, and when it's on the bus people are like really going for it, so I might try to use the subsidy fund to make that a little bit more affordable for folks.
Oh, so you're able to use that on the spot sort of thing so that people can afford. Okay, I wasn't understanding. That's amazing.
Sometimes the subsidy fund, I use it for a variety of different reasons. Sometimes it's like marketing, like the
Right.
first 10 to 15 people that get here get $10 off,
Right. Yes.
that will come out of the subsidy fund. Or sometimes I'm identifying someone's at the window and they're very clearly trying to make a decision, like
Mm-hmm.
not going to get the lettuce or avocado. We're just going to focus on,
Right.
small amount of stuff. And so if I see that and just say, no, you get $10 off. Go
Yeah.
get what you want,
Right. Right.
That's what I don't know. I believe that the food is there for people to access. We just need to do our part to make it the most accessible so they can go home and nourish their bodies, nourish their children, their families, you know? So yeah, there's a variety of ways to utilize that subsidy fund.
Right. That's beautiful. I'm so glad you're doing that work. And in the communities you're traveling to is all over to Cape Breton, am I right? So it's not just CBRM specific, but communities around the island or across the island.
That was like getting the new bus. We got to
Oh,
go for it, you know.
yes, that's right. Yeah. And how do people know you're coming? What is that marketing strategy? How do you get people to the bus when you visit these communities?
You know what? It's a variety of things. Biggest thing I would say is our Facebook page. Try to
Mhm.
keep that pretty stacked with, schedules and facts about. I try the Facebook page is definitely the biggest place where we do the marketing. But also the community groups come in handy when it comes to that.
Yeah,
They,
there's that network there.
like I send them a poster, they'll hang it in the fire hall and their corner stores. The Good Food Bus is coming next Wednesday or whatever. Um, the I will say the community groups play a major role there. And that was a big thing in the beginning days. I that was a huge that was a huge factor in building these relationships.
Hmm.
Because, are you willing to take on this, like to help us get people to the bus? And they're all just like, of course they were. They're all like, absolutely, anything.
Yeah.
You know, the people who do run these community groups are just gems. Yeah.
I love to hear that because so many times in this course, I was reminded how important relationship and communication is in the world of sustainability. And I'll be honest, in some of the ways we were reading or studying this work, I don't come from a science background or environmental background, but I do come from the communication discipline. So I was a little bit nervous that I wouldn't connect with the material in the same way, or I would have a harder time. I just was reminded time and time again of how important relationship is and building connections and building community and what that basis of community looks like. And I think everything you spoke about thus far is a testament to that, right? Those networks you create and those relationships you foster, it all needs to work together in order for this to work, right? And to make these things sustainable. And I think that's a lesson for all of us when it comes to trying to live a more sustainable lifestyle. We all have an individual role to play, but we all can contribute to like larger work that's happening, right?
Absolutely. Like without a community group doing so much hard work to host events, and when we have um disasters like the Fiona hurricane that just happened,
Right.
um the community groups are the first ones to step up. And yeah, bringing in communication with that, it's like they sit down, they talk about what the needs are of their community, and it's there's a huge aspect to communication and just talking things through there for success in our community for sure.
Yeah. We read about in one of our readings, Martin Mulligan identifies that we all need to learn how to travel, hopefully. And it's one of the 9 sustainability principles. And it's learn how to travel, hopefully, in a world of uncertainty. And that just, it landed everything we've been learning for me. And I think we can take that and apply it to all kinds of different areas of our life as well. For me, it was parenting right away. Like, that is what parenting is to me. You were traveling, hopefully, in a world of uncertainty all of the time. And when I was prepping for this chat and listening to you speak so far, I feel like the Good Food Bus is just such a visual representation of that. You are traveling, literally, right? Hopefully, in this world of uncertainty, and just trying to provide a little bit of certainty for people in a healthy, nourishing, accessible way. So I just love that. So lovely. What are some of those major issues? Affordability, accessibility, any others that you can identify that the Good Food Bus is seeking to challenge or change with the work you're doing?
I would say they are the biggest issues. The other one is transportation comes into play too. You might not think like food and transportation, but I did touch on this, but where our communities are so widespread, if you don't have a vehicle and you don't have access to, local transit, or even sometimes our taxi companies don't travel
Right.
so, how are you supposed to get healthy food?
Yeah.
Unless you have a neighbor who's willing to drive you into town or something. And so that's one thing on top of affordability, accessibility, the transportation part comes into it. Although we're not providing transportation, we are taking the service to people.
Right.
So I guess that would be something I would add to that as well.
And that makes it more equitable as well, right? Like, I'm thinking of a single parent who can't get to the grocery store because they can't leave their kids and they can't take them with them and they don't all fit in a cab, or they don't, like things that all of those factors, there's so many different situations or scenarios where that really isn't realistic for people. It's not as easy as just popping over to the grocery store. So you're allowing them that space to do that in a different way, in a more accessible way. That's
It
great.
also is like a sense of pride too. And like we're also like, just want to have this pride in our lives, right? Like, be proud of what we're doing, and to be able to go to the Good Food Bus and purchase food for your family, that maybe if you went a different option and went to, grocery store where the food might be a little bit more expensive, um, you would have to make more harder choices and maybe leave some things behind.
Yes.
So having this option to be able to purchase what you need for your family, and, not have it break your bank or whatever, I think that we're giving people an opportunity to be self-reliant, and
Yes.
be able to have
Yes.
that opportunity to provide for yourself.
Right.
And also, like, there's like we have food banks and other options that people give food, give out. But sometimes, and like, they're so important, food banks and food kitchens and things like that. They're so important. Of course they are. But there's some people who live that life of, maybe you don't necessarily need to go to the food bank or go and to a soup kitchen or what have you. But you're also still like trying to like pinch your pennies and trying to,
Yes.
so having this option of an affordable option to provide for your family is, it adds it gives people pride in providing.
You know what? That might be one of the biggest gifts that you're giving people, really. Like, giving them the tools, a way that they can still provide, like you said, protect that pride and that resilience, and just assisting them and making that a little bit easier for themselves. You mentioned the Better Bite Community Kitchen when you were explaining kind of the umbrella of New Dawn, and let's talk about some of that. So is it fair to say the Good Food Bus is a program under the Better Bite smaller umbrella division? Thank you. That's the word.
I think so. Yeah, absolutely, yes. I think now we're under more of like there's like the healthcare division
Okay.
because food is a part of healthcare, you know?
Yeah.
It's just food. At one point it was the Better Bite division,
Right.
but I think it's the healthcare division, which has like home care, Meals on Wheels, the Better Bite, cafe, and then the Good Food Bus. And so, yeah, the Better Bite, which some people might not realize. So in the Altuic Arts Center, there's a cafe. It's it's awesome. It's unreal. It's such good food, awesome pizza,
It
awesome
really is delicious. I've been there a few times. It's so good.
super hip. There's all kinds of art on the wall. It's awesome. Um, but all of the revenue from the Better by Cafe goes into Meals on Wheels, which
Okay.
is mostly seniors, I believe, are the clients, but there's also like anyone can take part in the program. And it just is what it is. The meals are taken right to the homes of the clients and they're beautiful, nutritious. So yeah, the Better Bite in as a whole is a wonderful division and then there's like a whole education side of it as well, where there's workshops like food cooking programs, things like that. Just always being innovative of different programs and different ways to provide education and food work.
Yeah.
The Better Life focuses on.
And that's so nice to hear that, because that's such an important aspect of all of this as well, right? Is providing people with the tools to live healthier, more sustainable lives. And you can't just assume people know how to do that, and giving them the tools and the education and the accessibility to the actual food, but just teaching them how to nourish your bodies and how to cook the food, and those different aspects and those different opportunities for education is so important as well. You mentioned the Meals on Wheels brings the food to the houses, and it's mostly seniors. For the Good Food Bus, can you tell us who can access it, who should be accessing it? Should people feel like, oh, that's not for me, that's for a certain group or demographic? What is that mandate? Who is the Good Food Bus? Who does the Good Food Bus want to serve?
Right. Oh, I'm so happy you asked this question. The main thing I'm trying to combat right now is this question that people have. So I think so when we started the Go Food Bus, there was, when you're starting anything new, you do radio interviews, newspaper interviews, and you're so happy to have that positive marketing out there. But in the beginning days, I would explain it as, going into the communities, high poverty, families need help. There was a lot of that wording used.
Right.
Right, that's kind of that's how my thoughts were about who we were
Right.
serving.
Right.
But then it turned into there was a bit of a stigma attached to the Good Food Bus, where people would often, I'd have people in my personal life being like, oh no, I'm not going to the Good Food Bus because I'm not going to take that away from someone. Like, I'm not taking that. No, don't.
Mm,
I won't be there. Don't worry. You won't see me there. And I'm like, and it's been an uphill climb since then, to try to convince people that no, 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 it's for everyone, anyone and everyone who doesn't need access to healthy food.
right.
Like we all need food. It's an
Right.
essential part of living. We all need healthy food. And so that's what I'm trying to combat now is just getting people to, get on board with the fact that it can be a cool hip thing to go,
Yes, definitely.
and by no means would you be taking away from anyone because the more people that come to the food bus, the better it can be. You know,
Right.
it would be awesome to have a sellout market every time. I mean, we often do, it's so great, but that's just something I'm trying to bottom line, everyone is welcome. I sometimes use the like, Oprah. It's like, you're gonna come.
Yes.
I'm like, you're welcome at the Good Food Bus, and you're welcome. Everyone's welcome.
I love it. I can see the meme of Oprah now, you doing that. Like, you can come and you can come. Yeah.
I actually did that once, like in the early days when I realized, like, oh shoot, I really kind of set this up a little wrong, this wording.
Right.
That one out, and I think it got a lot of likes.
Good. I bet it did. People can relate to that one. I'm so glad you said that. That's an important thing to educate people on then, right? To break that stigma. And it's so interesting, Emma, because again, going back to my course, like I've taken the approach or I've looked at a lot of this course material through a communication lens. And I've noticed so often the importance language plays, right? How we talk about something is what people know about it or impacts our perceptions of it. Or so good for you for realizing that, like, okay, it's the language that needs to be shifted so that people's perceptions of this service can shift. And I mean, you said it in the beginning, it's a produce aisle of your grocery store on wheels. I mean, who doesn't want to access that? That sounds amazing, right? So it is for all of us. And maybe if more of us come to it to access that service, am I understanding it correctly? It's kind of like that supply and demand. Like the more of us that go to it and need it, the more you can serve and the more you can.
Yeah, absolutely. So, like how it goes, so you're bang on there. So, um, like each month when I'm planning a schedule of markets, I'll
Mhm.
look back on when last time I was in Escazone, how many customers came? What were the sales like? Oh, it was a sellout day. I'll get double the amount,
Mm,
or I should go there more often because
right,
they come, they use it, and
right.
absolutely it's a supply and demand. You go to the places that use it the most
Hmm.
and try to get the places that are kind of hesitant to come on board.
Yeah.
But yeah, absolutely.
Right. Education is so important. I will be bringing my kids to order their bananas or their lettuce from the food. Like how fun. My son would love that. Right. And it allows me an opportunity to start a relationship with them with nourishing food in a different way too. Right. And with community.
Yeah, I often have kids like come and they're like, "Oh, mom, I always wanted to try avocado, but
Right.
we never get it in the grocery store because you have to be smart about your purchases." And I don't
Right.
anywhere you go, you have to be smart about your
Of
purchases.
course. Of
Sure,
course.
I'm not trying to signal out of the grocery store. Absolutely.
No, no, I understand.
Yeah, but perhaps at the Good Food Bus, they can give it a try,
Right.
and yeah,
You could buy one and not a bag or
yeah, yeah, exactly.
right.
So, yeah, and you know what? Like the community groups play a huge role in that as well, in trying to change that conversation. So sometimes a group might access some funding that they have to spend on food for their community. Um, and they'll contact me and say, how can we work together? They'll buy 100 coupons
Yeah.
and let their community know 100 of you go and get free food from the Good Food Bus. And
Wow.
you know, and so, and then that gives someone an opportunity to come and, oh my God, we've had so many new customers saying, like, I didn't realize that I could have come here, or
Yeah, that's amazing.
yeah, absolutely. So there's all kinds of different ways to combat this stigma that we're climbing uphill trying to combat it. But it's things like this. Being
Yeah.
talking with you today is, you have a different audience there might be 5 people listening today that think the same thing.
Yeah, that's right. I hope there is. And you know what? I'm thinking we had to do a different assignment this semester where we're like reflecting on our patterns of consumption and behavior and then reflecting on or planning on how we can implement change. And there's a few things that I see how we run our household that we can implement change. And now I can't wait to add this to the list, right? Like buying food differently and being more considerate of food waste and our purchasing behavior changing in this way and just creating a different community connection I think is is so beneficial in its own right in this form of purchasing your food and connecting with community in that way. Emma, you are scheduling and driving the bus and purchasing the food and marketing it and sharing it and teaching us all about it. You're doing this all on your own as the coordinator. Can you talk to us about the structure of the Good Food Bus? Are you the only employee? Does it rely on volunteers? Do you need more volunteers? What does that look like for you?
Absolutely, yes. So short answer is I'm the only person
Wow.
doing it. I shouldn't. I'm not. I'm definitely not going to take all the glory here. There's a team of highly um, talented people at New Dawn who, have my back wholeheartedly and
Right.
um, advise, and they're there for me to ask questions to. And there's, the Better Bite crew there. They're my coworkers. So,
Yeah.
although I'm on the bus by myself all of the time and kind of a one gal show, um, I still have a team of folks who support, and they're there for me to bounce ideas off of and things like that. I've been successful so far in accessing like summer grant students.
Amazing.
Great to have people. The summertime, of course, is so busy.
Right.
Um, and so it's been really great to have for 3 years in a row now. We've had um, a student, which has been awesome. And usually, like within funding applications, we'll put in a little bit of money to be able to keep that student on for part-time or something for
Great.
3 months. And so, yes, there's some help for sure, but I am definitely the only person, as the sole, person with a good food bus.
Right. Responsible. Yeah.
Responsible is the word. I do rely heavily on volunteers for sure. Volunteers are the backbone of this,
Yeah, they really are.
gems. And so we have a lot of really wonderful volunteers who help out. And they can come, I have a lot of the international students who are here in our community, and the Good Food Bus is providing them with an opportunity to see the island.
Wow. Yeah. What a unique way to immerse yourself in a community and culture that way.
Now I have a couple seats on the bus now, and I'm allowed to drive with them. I'm a volunteer or two on the bus, and sometimes there'll be a few volunteers will come with me and they'll see Iona or
Yeah.
um,
Does that help alleviate some of the work stressors that you would have in your day-to-day operations of the Good Food Bus?
yeah, it helps with the market for sure, like for the market day. So, it helps to have two people there. Usually I'm there talking to the customers and explaining to new customers and things like that, taking orders. And someone will be in the back packaging the order off. And it helps with the productivity of the whole.
Yeah, the efficiency of it, I'm sure.
There's the word. Yeah, no, for sure. Volunteers and having someone extra on the bus really helps.
You talked about the market day. Can you tell us a little bit about what that means? Do you have a market day every week? What does that look like?
Yeah. Market day. So right now I'm doing 2 market days a week. We'll have 2 to 3 markets lined up in the day. A market day starts 2 days before the market. So today is a Monday. Monday is a food order day, and it's
Okay.
researching on look at the community groups you're going to, not community groups, look at the communities you're going to, how they've reacted to the bus previous months, and then order your food appropriately for this week.
Right.
So the food will come in tomorrow, which is Tuesday. Get that all set up, repackage into smaller portions, get the potatoes, the spinach, everything into smaller portions. Then Wednesday is our first market day of the week. And so how that looks is it starts off by a little bit of heavy lifting, get your workout in for the day, the bus, and get it all set up, and then hit the road, travel to your first community and change the menu sign, get your prices up, and put the sign out, and it's literally just that simple. And people just come up to the bus, and we usually stay in each community for an hour, and then after an hour passes by, close the window, get everything kind of reorganized, restock your shelves, and hit the road to the next community. I try to structure the markets in a way that the communities kind of like follow a path for each day, of
Oh,
course.
nice. So how many communities do you visit a day, like on average? What does that look like?
3 communities a day usually.
Wow.
So usually 5 to 6 a week is what we'll do. And I try to go to each community once a month, which that would be something I would like to see improved is more consistency in communities, maybe bi-weekly or something.
Right.
But with one boss, one person, one driver, you can only get to so many communities.
Yeah, those are some real challenges that you have to work within what's manageable for you to actually do, right?
Actually do, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, that's how market day looks. It is really quite simple.
I mentioned it already, but in one of our readings for this course, we talk about Thomas Berry's concept of great work, and he describes it as now great work should be to carry out the transition from a period of human devastation of the earth to a period when humans would be present to the planet in a mutually beneficial manner. And hearing you speak so passionately about the work you're doing with the Good Food Bus, I think it's fair to say that you are doing great work every day. So I want to take it back to the personal dimension of the work you've been doing since you started this job. How has it impacted you since you started working with the Good Food Bus? What has it taught you about community and connection, if anything? What are some of the main lessons you've learned through your good work?
Yeah. Well, I mean, oh my God, the list could go on, really. This is something that this position that I've held for years now, and it's something that will definitely sit with me for life.
Mm-hmm.
It's been rewarding, it's been challenging, it's been the mental capacity has been another side of it that I really didn't expect. Hard conversations with people,
Mm-hmm.
beautiful conversations. So, you know, it's opened my eyes to the challenges that my neighbors and friends face. It's opened my eyes to my privilege, my personal privilege of growing up with a life that I feel so grateful for. I've
Mm-hmm.
always been provided with the things that I've needed, and that's not the reality for so many.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so personally, the personal dimensions of this job are it definitely someday when I move on from this, the things that I've learned from this will just carry forward,
Mm-hmm.
into whatever I move into next. I've worked a lot of positions so far in my life of nonprofit and out of nonprofit. I've learned the value in nonprofit organizations to our communities
Mm-hmm.
is they're invaluable. Like
Yeah.
it's incredible the flexibilities that a nonprofit has to be able to meet challenges in our communities. Someone like New Dawn, I know we're just like, oh, this needs to happen in our community. Sure, let's figure it out. Let's
Right.
just do it. Yeah.
Yeah. Bringing it down to the human level, right?
Right.
Like,
Yeah. So, I mean, one thing I would say, it's definitely, I really didn't expect the mental health side of things
right.
that I've seen both personally and just through having conversations. Sometimes a day can be so hard, so heavy. You go
Yes.
home and you're like, I can't even talk to one more person. Like sometimes there's tears when they hand me
Yes.
a bag of food. Sometimes there's just big joy and oh, I got this for $10. Like
Right.
so it's a roller coaster of emotions every day. But I think it taught me to really ensure to focus on myself too. Like, people have the tendency to not really focus on ourselves. But this job really taught me that, in order to help folks out and help people out, you have to you give yourself the help you need too.
Yeah.
It's
If
important.
Jess was here with us today, she would say you can't pour from an empty cup. Like if you're going to be filling people's cups up all day, figuratively and literally, you have to make sure that you're filling yours, right? Taking the time to do that. And really the work you just mentioned, I mean, you are doing real emotional labor. Like that is a true aspect of the work you're doing, right? It's a byproduct of the type of work you do daily. You're you're connecting with humans in such a special way, and through food and through security, which are such important elements of a human experience. And food can be so, depending on different cultures, we all have different relationships with food, but it's so meaningful. And it's not only the food that we're nourishing our bodies with, but it's also how we build relationships and connections, or we build it through or around the idea of food, right? So giving people those tools and opportunities to do that.
Food is like, it's so important to mental health.
Right.
This was really, it shined bright with the recent Hurricane Fiona. I think I've seen a bigger food issue with the Hurricane Fiona than I did with the pandemic, and
Wow.
that might be a huge statement to make, and someone might be like, "That's a crazy thing to say." But food, like with locally where we had this Hurricane Fiona,
Yes.
we had no power for some people were over a week,
Yeah.
or
Some places were longer.
right, absolutely.
Mhm.
And then so what that turned into is not everyone has the luxury of having a generator,
Right.
and they lost all their food. And so those markets where I finally got the bus on the road, that was the biggest, they were the biggest emotionally charged markets that I've
I
experienced, because
bet.
people had no food. There was
Right.
no, like, they threw everything out because it all went to waste.
Yeah.
And so that was a like, and when you don't have food and you don't have your essential need, then that sparks like fear, and
Yeah.
separation, and then we're all on the same page. And
Yes. Yeah,
no matter what your
exactly.
situation,
I'm
yeah.
like blinking back tears listening to you speak about that, because I can just visualize, I mean, like freezer fulls, fridge full of food being thrown out. And like,
Oh my God.
oh,
Yeah,
it's just,
it
it's
happened a
sad
lot.
in any way, like in any situation, but I know in certain scenarios that is even more devastating, right? To some
Mhm,
families and some people. It's just, yeah,
mhm,
I bet
yeah.
you did. Well, Emma, the work you're doing is so important, and I know that you've highlighted some of the good food buses successes already, but what are some of the key successes you feel or that you're most proud of all this work you've been doing over the last few years?
Yeah, definitely. So we did talk about some pretty deep things,
Yeah.
but it's not always that deep. Sometimes, most of the time, there are a lot of great successes. There are a lot of happy moments. And just to highlight some, I guess, like just seeing the happy faces on the bus every day. That's first and foremost.
Yes.
But then
Yes.
there's this one thing that we got ourselves into during the pandemic year, and that was the holiday market that we have every year. And what we do is we just, build up some funding, and put on a holiday market. It's free for the participants. We work with the community groups that we work with to access the participants, and these folks will get a ticket. They come to our market. It's not a market on the bus, it's in the Altuic Arts Center.
Okay.
And they get everything needed for a turkey dinner, Christmas
Oh,
morning breakfast, lots of treats. In years
wow.
past, they got like presents and things like that. This year, we're going to scale it back and focus on the food because that's the main
Yes.
thing.
Yeah.
But I think that's a really beautiful success, and that's a good food bus thing. Whereas I've been really involved in it the past 3 years, but it's also a Better Bite, New Dawn initiative, community groups, partnerships. We'd like to see that build and build and build to be a wonderful, um, event that we build together with community groups. And
Yeah, that's
as a whole.
amazing.
Yeah, so that's a success for sure. The new bus was an incredible success. That added a lot of value to this program. And I think the other thing is the development of the subsidy fund was a big success as well, because it just makes the food even more accessible
Right.
financially. That
Yeah,
was
it
a
meets your mandate even on a deeper level, or like make that even more accessible and affordable.
yeah,
That's
exactly.
amazing. I had no idea about the subsidy fund. I'm so glad that you shared that with us.
Yeah.
If communities or organizations or businesses or anyone listening personally wants to help or donate or contribute to these funds or to the operation of the Good Food Bus or otherwise, is there a way to do that, or what do you recommend for people in that way?
Yeah, absolutely. We're always, welcoming people to get involved, or if someone feels inclined to donate, it would all be used very wisely. But I think the best ways are to, reach out to the Good Food Bus Facebook page. It would be myself answering, or someone from, we work with Anchored Ideas, which I know you know them. They're so awesome
They're
there.
the best. They are the best. Yeah.
They rock.
Yeah.
So you could reach out to the Facebook page, give us a call. The website gives you lots of information about sending an email, the Good Food Bus email. It would be wonderful to, get involved or accept donations or what have you, whatever, even if you want to ask a question.
Yeah, perfect. And
Yeah.
I'll share the website for everyone in the show notes and on my in my assignment that I submit for this. But your email is thegoodfoodbus@newdawn.ca.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah.
If you could dream for the future, any strategic plans for future work, where do you see the Good Food Bus going? Where do you want it to go? What does that look like for you, Emma?
Yeah, I think the Good Food Bus has so much potential for expansion. I just recently, funny, we talked about the mobile food market in Halifax. I
Mm-hmm.
recently had a conversation with them, just touching base, see how they're doing, see how we're doing. And they have like a director who does funding, who does like getting the program on base. And then there's a market coordinator, and then there's a community outreach coordinator. So down the
Wow.
road, I would like to see the Good Food Bus just expand with staffing a little bit. Perhaps that could lead to another Good Food Bus. I would think that would be incredible. I mean, I think there's some work to be done to reach that point, but
Of course.
we couldn't just meet more needs. Go
Yeah.
be on the road all of the days, like,
Right.
yeah,
Right.
so
And in
that
different
would
communities, like more often.
right, absolutely, or yeah, absolutely. So I think that would be incredible to have two buses. Yeah. We've spent some time building a relationship with Feed Nova Scotia.
Yeah.
They're awesome, they're really great. But we took Nick, who is the CEO, director of Feed Nova Scotia, on the bus with us to Escazoni one day. And we were driving back, and he was like, "We're getting you a double decker?"
Yeah.
Like, well,
I
I'm not throwing apples down at people, but like, I'll take a second bus.
yes,
Yeah,
yes.
so the options are, endless. And yeah, I'd like to see there be refrigeration on the bus
Hmm.
offer, and we're working towards that. That's a near future reality, hopefully. Um, but to be able to offer meals and smoothies and salads and stuff like that, so that would be a cool thing addition to the program. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Amazing. That's
Mm.
so exciting. Is there anything else you want the Good Food or you want others to know about the Good Food Bus, about the programs?
You know what? I think I'm going to drive home the idea that you're welcome at the Good Food
Uh,
Bus. Everyone is welcome. We want to see you. We're going to welcome you with open arms. If you have a question about it, ask it. No question is bad.
yeah.
That's what I think I'd like to drive home is that everyone's encouraged. Everyone needs food. It's an essential thing. Come on and get it.
Yes, I
Yeah,
love that. Everyone is welcome.
everyone's
And
welcome.
for my classmates listening, so hi to everyone in Education 6101, Fundamentals of Sustainability at CBU, and to our Professor Elise. I hope you've been enjoying our chat. But Emma, if my classmates who are listening in other provinces across the country or other areas of the world, if any of them are interested in learning more about how this program got started or how maybe they could start this initiative in their communities, could they reach out to you as well, Emma, and to talk more about that?
Absolutely. That happens all the time. I talked to a
Oh,
lady in
nice.
Toronto who actually, we had a nice long meeting, and she runs a food center in Toronto, and she was like, how do we do a Good Food Bus? And yeah,
Yes.
so we spent some, absolutely. They can reach out, we can have a chat. I can give you tips and tricks, and yeah, get you started,
Amazing.
because the more Good Food Buses or mobile markets there are on the road, the better, right? Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
That must be so exciting to hear from other people who say, like, tell me what you're doing so we can do it too. Like that must feel good.
It is cool.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. Because I was in that position at one point. I
Right.
needed to learn, everyone needs to learn in order to get something done. So,
Yeah.
I went and learned from the mobile food market, and someone else might want to learn something from me. I don't know.
Yeah, of course. Well,
Yeah.
we learned so much from you, Emma. Thank you so much for your time today. I'm going to give you the last word.
Everyone deserves access to food.
Mhm.
And that's what we're trying to do, is just to add another avenue of access. And so, yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
That's important. Thank you so much, Emma, for sharing your great work with us. And I really enjoyed our chat.
Yes, I did too. Thank you so much. It's so cool. Usually I'm cruising on the Good Food Bus listening to the podcast. So
this is so funny. Well, the next time you cruise on the Good Food Bus, you can listen to yourself on the Morning Meeting podcast. It'll be great. Be perfect.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for your time. Thank you for all the work you're doing with the Good Food Bus. This has been lovely to learn so much. I know my classmates will enjoy it as well. And hopefully we'll chat soon. And I'll share all of your contact info and the contact info for the Good Food Bus and the programs at New Dawn and Better Bite through our episode notes and in my assignments, so my classmates can learn more as well.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for having me today. It's been a blast, really.
Been a blast. You're amazing. I really appreciate it. I'll chat with you soon.
If you enjoyed today's episode, please subscribe to our podcast and give us a review. You can find us on social media at The Morning Meeting Podcast and connect with us through email at themorningmeetingpodcast@gmail.com. Thank you for sitting around our table. Sarah and Jess.